So let's talk about setting. On the indoor court, you often hear coaches say, beat the ball. What are coaches referring to when they say beat the ball? What they're saying is get to the spot early where you think the ball is going to be, get yourself set, get yourself stable, and ready to execute the skill. Now, why is that challenging to do on the beach? Consider the wind. Do you really know where the ball is going to end up in its final spot? You get to the spot where you think it's going to be, but then the wind takes it, and all of a sudden you got to adjust. You might not be in good position, and then you're adapting to get a quality set. So on the beach, what we actually prefer you do is you don't beat the ball. All you're going to do is follow the ball. Okay, so when you're tracking the ball, you follow, 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 and then end up and meet the ball at the same time it ends up there. So if the ball goes fast, you go fast. If the ball goes slow, you go slow. What about a clean contact? How does one get a clean contact? Think of it this way. If your hands are symmetrical and they come out symmetrical and the ball comes out symmetrical, that's when the ball goes nice and clean. If your hands actually come out one first, then the other, or anything like that, that's when you get a double and the contact is not as clean. How do we do that? So there's a couple of reasons we've used this term called rocket at Team Ontario. So rocket to us means where are the jets to your rocket in order to propel something? So if I look like this, if I look at this just from the side so you can see, using my legs for power, and I rocket the ball and the power into wherever the ball is going to be. Okay, so using my legs, I rocket into the trajectory of the ball. So how does a rocket help me with having symmetrical hands? Consider this. So if my legs are my jets and I have my hands above my head because it's in line with the rocket, as soon as I use my legs, my arms will naturally go in the direction that I want the ball. When I use just my arms for power, I've got two muscles I need to control. I may accidentally push one muscle a little bit more than the other, and it just creates for probability of a double contact. But again, if I use my legs and it's in line with the rocket, it'll naturally go. So in this case, your hands are just a cradle, and the power actually comes from your legs. So as far as the rocket concerned, this is why you often hear when coaches talk about setting to have your hands on your hairline. Because at this point that your rocket and your jets, the power goes right into the ball. If I set with my hands in front of my body, even if I use my legs, I'm going to have to direct with my arms, which again could create that scenario where one arm goes more than the other. Okay, so again, rocket, but in the trajectory that you want the ball. So if I want the ball to go almost straight up, I'll look like this. If I want the ball to go a little bit more out, I'll look like this. So it's always creating that one line. Let's take this rocket concept and apply it to the back set. What will my body look like then? So if I set up here and I want to set back there, will my hips stay back? And if they stay back, then I just use my arms, and this is pretty much the extension I can get. Or I throw my hips forward, and all of a sudden I've created the same rocket scenario in order to get that power back. The other thing you often hear coaches talk about is facing a target. Facing your target actually is encouraging the same thing of having symmetrical hands. So if I'm trying to set you, I'm not facing, I have to really pay attention to making sure my hands are symmetrical to get to you. So it's easier to ask athletes to face a target. This isn't always possible though. So I'll give you an example. Let's pretend this is the net and I'm the blocker and I'm setting you, you're my attacker. So you've just passed me the ball, I'm the blocker, I'm coming off the net in order to set you, but what I end up doing, because I know I want to set towards the net, is I twist my body in order to set towards the net. What happens when I twist? Sometimes I over twist. This is a very common thing that happens with blockers coming off the net, is over twisting, the ball ends up too tight or ends up over the net. So what's the solution to this? This is where rocket comes into play. So I'm the blocker, you pass me the ball, I know I need to set you back onto the net, I come off the net, but I can't get around, there's just not enough time, so I rocket instead. What direction am I rocketing? I'm rocketing the direction that I want the ball to go, and I'm going to go like this. And instead of twisting, I actually set almost sideways. So I'm setting sideways, but the thing is I'm very cognizant of the rocket that I'm creating so that the jets propel right into the direction that I want the trajectory to go. Okay, so the rocket replaces this idea of twisting because I could easily over twist the direction I want. So rocketing will just angle into the direction I want rather than twisting. There isn't a whole lot different between bump setting and hand setting. The only difference would be recognizing the amount of space that you want as you're following the ball. Remember, you're following the ball, you're not beating the ball. So if I'm coming in for a bump set, I come in, but I recognize how much space I need, and then I stop and I use my legs. What we don't want to happen is you run in, you realize you don't have enough space, and because of it, you got to use your arms, which changes angles, or because of it, you got to back up, which creates a situation you could be unstable, right? So you're going to follow, recognize the amount of space that you need, you get to the point, and then it's just rocket in the direction that you want, right? Remember, if you use your arms, you change angle, so therefore we're going to increase our probability of getting the angle we want by rocketing with our legs. So for setting, remember you're going to follow ball, not beat the ball, because the wind creates a scenario where you just don't know exactly where the ball is going to be. The second thing is, once you get to the spot, you're going to rocket yourself into the direction that you want the ball to go. For hand setting, it comes from the legs, and your hands are just a cradle in order for it to have highest probability of symmetrical hands. For bump setting, using your legs allows you to keep the angle of your arms the same so that you don't change the angle, thus changing where the ball is going to end up.